Hi, this is Grandma Lori. Today's story is The Adventurer. Sydney was sleeping soundly when she heard clack, clack, clack coming from the living room. She looked at the clock. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. What was going on? Sydney was 10 and visiting her grandma for the weekend while her parents were out of town. She loved being at Grandma's house. They baked cookies, went shopping, ate wonderful food from around the world, and shared stories. She especially loved sharing stories with Grandma. Grandma was a writer and an adventurer. She had been all over the world, writing about this or that, and she always came home to tell Sydney about her trips. Sydney peeked out from her bedroom door and saw Grandma typing away on her computer. "Good morning," Grandma said. She hadn't looked up from her computer, but somehow knew Sydney was there. "How did you know I was up?" Sydney asked. "Sid, you may think you're quiet, but I can hear a pin drop." "I heard you get out of bed," said Grandma. "Let me finish this story and I'll fix breakfast." Sydney was curious. "What are you writing about this morning?" "The Antarctic. It's a story for a travel magazine," Grandma said. "Wow, you've been to the Antarctic?" Sydney asked. "It was so cold, sweetie," said Grandma. "Finished. Let's get some food." As they went into the kitchen and Grandma fixed a fresh pot of coffee, Sydney had so many questions. "What was it like there?" she asked. "Cold. There were hardly any people, but you could tell lots had been there before by what they left behind," Grandma said. "What do you mean?" asked Sydney. "There were all kinds of things frozen in the ice the closer we got. You couldn't even see the ice in places because of everything frozen in it." Grandma looked sad. "That's terrible." Sydney couldn't imagine why someone would litter in Antarctica, but there it was. "Where else have you been lately?" Sydney asked. "The tallest mountain in the world, Mount Everest. It was really cold there, too," Grandma said, patting Sydney on the head as she laid down 2 perfect pancakes covered in butter and syrup. "I even went to see the first private rocket blast off. That was lots of fun." Grandma was smiling from ear to ear. "I especially loved London. There was so much history, so much to see and do." Sydney was picturing in her mind all the places Grandma had been. She was truly an adventurer. "I wish I could travel like you do," Sydney said, putting another bite of pancake into her mouth. "But Sid, you know I don't ever leave home to travel anymore. I can't," said Grandma, looking down at her wheelchair. "Then how do you write all those stories?" Sydney was confused. "I read, I research, and I talk to people who've been to those places. I also look back on what I did before my accident and draw from that," said Grandma. "When was your accident?" Sydney just knew Grandma was in a wheelchair. She didn't know about the accident. "It was while I was in China, walking the Great Wall. Someone ran into me and knocked me over. Since then, I've had my constant companion," Grandma said, patting her chair. Sydney looked sad. "Don't be sad, Sid. I've had more adventures in my time of traveling and reading than most people have in a lifetime, and I still get to go on adventures. I read all the time, taking me to far-off lands. People tell me stories. I go back and research to make sure what they're saying makes sense, and then I write about it. I help others go on adventures just by reading what I write," said Grandma. Sydney still looked confused. "Don't worry, Sid. We can go on an adventure this morning when we're done cleaning up. Let's see, where in the world do you want to go?" This has been Grandma Lori. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the story. Make sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe. Thank you.